Mexico, Temple of Huitzilopochtli. A man runs from the caving halls of the temple, dodging traps on his way to safety. He then leaps through a gap filled with stalagmites using a vine that breaks mid-jump, leaving the man barely holding onto the side of the precipice. He screams for help, and another man appears above him, addressing him as Doctor and asking if he was able to locate the artifact. The Doctor confirms, addressing the mysterious man as Barrett, asking to help him up. Barrett demands the artifact first, and with no other choice, the Doctor hands him the crown of Huitzilopochtli. Barrett gazes at the object with malice, leaving the Doctor behind, who falls to his death. Egypt, Cairo's market district. 3 young kids steal fruit from a warehouse. One of them, Ororo, prepares to go back inside, realizing they don't have enough food, while Nari, the other girl, protests this decision for fear of being caught. Ororo lowers herself again, while above, Nari prepares to leave. The third kid, Hakim, objects to this decision, telling Nari that their teacher chose Ororo to lead them, but annoyed, Nari smacks the apple from the boy's hand, alerting the guards of their presence. Nari and Hakim help Ororo up, and they escape through the rooftops. Hakim stops at a gap between buildings, not sure that he can make the jump, while already on the other side, Ororo urges him to try. Hakim tries the jump and falls to the alley below, but is left unscathed as Nari resumes the escape, leaving him behind. Ororo refuses to give up on her friend and drops down to help him, only to be confronted by the guards. They seize the fruit the kids stole, making fun of them, but they're interrupted by Ahmed El Gibar, and immediately the guards fall in line, apologizing for their mistake, not realizing that the children are under Ahmed's protection. They return the food to Ahmed, who leaves them to deal with the children as they wish, but the kids have already fled. At the thief's hideout, Nari inflates her story about facing the guards to the other children. She paints herself as the hero for bringing them the food, while blaming Ororo for wanting to stay and fight. But at that moment, Ororo arrives with Hakim. He berates her for abandoning them to save herself and then to lie about it to save face. Nari replies asking him if he would prefer she told them of his failure, and as Hakim jumps to fight her, Ororo steps in between them, while Nari says that teacher will punish them for their mistakes. At that moment, teacher Ahmed arrives, scolding Nari that punishments are his, not hers to decide. The children show what they managed to steal for him, as he gives out some of the fruit, but not to Nari, telling her that he taught her to steal for survival, not to steal away when their fellow thieves need help. He addresses Hakim's failure, but Ororo intervenes, saying that Hakim was merely following her orders, and Ahmed, disappointed, punishes her with an evening without supper. Later, Ororo sits on the roof, taking in the view. Hakim joins her and says that maybe Nari was right in him being a lousy thief, and that Ororo didn't have to take the blame for his blunders, offering her half of his apple. She protests, but ultimately takes it, and thanks him for being a good friend, while Hakim tells her to come back inside because no matter how hard she gazes, there's nothing out there. She's beginning to think he's right, so Hakim asks her why she spends her nights up here alone staring into nothingness, and she answers that her mother used to tell her that she was destined for great things, that the blood of queens and priestesses flow in her veins, and shedding tears, Ororo admits that she waits for the nothingness to finally give way to something, but it never does. Hakim comforts her, and she says that even though she was there when her parents died, she still dreams they'll return someday. Hakim tells her that his parents abandoned him when he was a baby, so he doesn't have anyone to miss, and Ororo remarks that then he might be the luckiest of them all. The next morning, at the market, Ororo pickpockets a tourist. She runs into one of the guards from the day before and immediately makes her escape, ending up on a dead end, and the guard, following behind, loses sight of her. Thinking the kid might have climbed up to the rooftops like before, he climbs a ladder, only for Ororo to come out of a pot and take out the ladder, leaving the guard stranded on the roof. As she walks out of the alley, she hears Ahmed's voice, and seeing him inside the cafe, she hears his conversation with a mysterious man that asks for Ahmed's thieving services. Ahmed refuses, since what the man described is far too dangerous. But as the man opens a briefcase full of gold, Ahmed reconsiders, addressing the man as Barrett, saying he has just the right thief. night, Ororo runs from her fellow orphan thieves. She's stopped by Nari and Hakim, who want her to return something she took from their master Ahmed. Refusing to comply, she reluctantly fights Hakim and the other kids, until finally coming face to face with Nari. They fight until eventually Ororo takes control, and they're interrupted by Ahmed, who congratulates Ororo, revealing this to be only a test. The next day, at the Giza pyramids, Barrett welcomes Ahmed, who arrives with Ororo, Nari and Hakim to an excavation. Barrett is skeptical about the thieves being children, but Ahmed assures him that they are indeed the best thieves Cairo has to offer. Ororo asks what the mission is, and Barrett tells them that they are to retrieve the opal of Ozymandias. Legend says that whoever possesses the opal will become invincible, immortal, and will live in the service of an ancient Egyptian warlord called En-Sabanur. He tells them that he only wants to deliver the artifact to a museum before it falls into the wrong hands, dismissing the powers as myths, and warning them of the traps and dangers that only the most skilled can survive. He mentions the curse that says that Ozymandias, the Eternal, will give life to the stones themselves, so to crush all who invade the sanctum of En-Sabanur. But again, he dismisses this as a myth. Ororo asks what they'll get in return for this job, and Barrett replies that not only they'll be forever remembered for retrieving this wonder for today's world, but shall also be rewarded in ways they could never imagine. And Ororo inquires when they begin. Soon, the three kids enter the ruins, and along a corridor, Hakim gets scared by a statue. Nari tells him to relax, wondering why the teacher even made them bring him. Ororo follows behind, uncomfortable with the small space, and Nari teases her, only for Ororo to push her against the wall, telling her that she has her reasons. Hakim shows Ororo support, and then they continue along the corridor, where Nari springs a trap that causes the blocks on the ceiling to come down on them. Ororo reacts fast and runs to save Nari, dragging Hakim with her until they reach a large gap filled with scorpions at the bottom. They use the nearby ropes to cross it, but while the girls make it to the other side, a rope breaks under Hakim, but Ororo grabs him, pulling him to safety. They continue through the ruins, avoiding several more traps and dangers, until they come into the main chamber, where the map says the opal should be. Nari rushes to get it, despite Ororo's warning of possible traps surrounding the stone, and as Nari gets the opal and returns to her companions, 4 statues come to life right behind her. In the camp outside the ruins, Ahmed goes to Barrett's tent to express his worry about his students. But before he enters, he hears Barrett speak to his men, saying that soon, when the whelps return the opal, they can begin the ceremony to bring back their dark master, so they shall serve at his side as he ushers in a new age of apocalypse. Barrett feels the intruder's presence, but Ahmed's already gone, rushing to warn his students, only to be stopped by Barrett and his men. Inside the temple, the children dodge the statue's attacks. Ororo says that although they're bigger and stronger, the kids are smarter and faster, pointing out that the curse spoke of living stones, concluding that these must be the opal's guardians. Each of the kids face a statue, while the fourth one appears to be in charge. They avoid them as best they can as Nari, watching one of the statues throw a large block of stone at her, dodges it, only for it to strike the statue that faces Hakim across the room. Hakim thanks Nari, while Ororo makes her statue fall through the depths below, but as she thinks there's only one left to deal with, she hears the other kids scream as they're seized by one of the statues. Ororo takes the opal and demands the leader to release them, threatening to drop it in the hole. The statue in charge speaks, congratulating Ororo's play, as the statue she disposed of before comes back and grabs her. The leader addresses himself as Ozymandias, telling the statue to bring Ororo closer so he can take a better look at her. He is surprised with what he sees, begging forgiveness and saying that he mistook her for a common intruder, revealing that he was expecting her. Ororo is released, asking him if this temple and the opal belong to him, and he replies that he is only a servant to his master and Sabanur, just like the other statues, but that today he serves Ororo. She asks who he thinks she is, and he explains that he knows not only who she is, but also who she'll become, showing her a mural depicting Ororo as an adult, being praised as a goddess. Ororo stands confused as Ozymandias explains that he sees visions of the future and the past, a gift and a curse bestowed to him by his master and Sabanur. He continues saying that those visions have shown that her path will be a long and difficult one, that the trials she have already faced are nothing compared to the ones ahead, but they also show that she will prevail and soar on the winds as the savior of her people. Ororo says that he must be mistaken since she is an orphan, she has no people. Ozymandias tells her that she will find them someday and will help lead them to a brighter tomorrow, and that she is destined for great things. She is the one of the chosen. Her journey has just begun, and today fate brought her here for a reason. He tells her that the opal is hers to take, but warns her that its powers come with a terrible price. As Hakim and Nari are released, Ozymandias tells them to go, while Ororo asks how they can repay his kindness, but he tells her that her debt to En Sabanur will be paid in full someday. The three kids reach the exit of the temple, still failing to understand what just happened. Nari presses the matter, asking Ororo what Ozymandias told her, and she replies that he told her what she needed to hear. As Hakim urges Nari to drop the matter, a fire beam strikes the temple's ceiling, bringing it down on them. Only Nari manages to escape, and with the opal in hand, she runs for help. She runs into Barrett, who reveals that he caused the stone collapse to prevent them from disrupting his plans. He takes the opal from her, and emanating a glow from his eyes, he blasts her with an energy beam. Ororo recalls her times with her parents, until an explosion took them from her, her mother's corpse being her last memory of that life. Ororo wakes up trapped under the rubble, fighting to free herself. Speaking to her goddess, her eyes glow, and from the skies thunder strikes, blowing away the boulders. Free and confused, she runs to help Hakim. Despite a few bruises, he's okay, questioning Ororo how they got free. And Ororo, still unknowing of her emerging mutant powers, tells him that she just called to the goddess. They run outside but find the place deserted. Ororo feels something is wrong and runs to Barrett's tent. As they enter it, Ororo is attacked, only for them to find out that it is Abdul, one of their orphan friends. He apologizes, saying that he thought they were dead. Hakim and Ororo overwhelm the boy with questions, and he explains that a group of men broke into their den and brought them here, but he managed to slip free and hide. He continues saying that Master Ahmed and Nari were already being held prisoner when he arrives, and a man in white said he had killed Ororo and Hakim. Hakim realizes that the man in white, Barrett, was responsible for trapping them in the temple, and Ororo asks Abdul where are the others. He says that the guards took them into another tent, but he was afraid to follow. But now, with Ororo and Hakim, the three walk in and see a ladder leading down. Soon, the three find themselves hiding in a giant cave, eavesdropping on Barrett. Facing a giant sarcophagus, Barrett proclaims that he finally has all the pieces together for the resurrection to begin. With the life force of his prisoners to provide sustenance, En Sabanur, the first of his kind, will soon rise again, and the glory of the apocalypse will be unleashed. Thanks to the combined powers of the opal of Ozymandias and the crown of Huitzilopochtli, he will be able to serve his Dark Lord for all eternity. Hakim realizes that the great reward Barrett promised was to become human sacrifices, and Ororo says that she will create a distraction, but Abdul offers himself to do it instead, so they can still have the element of surprise. While Barrett checks if everything's right, Abdul shouts to them, so Barrett orders his men to get him. Ororo and Hakim use the distraction to free their friends and their master Ahmed, while Abdul fights Barrett's men. Fed up with this nuisance, Barrett unleashes his powers, only to be surprised by Ororo, the children, and their master behind her. They begin to fight as some of the children sabotage Barrett's equipment. Reaching for the opal to use its powers, Barrett realizes that Hakim has taken it from him. He blasts him with energy beams, but the boy dodges all the attacks, getting to higher ground. Frustrated, Barrett blasts Nari instead, and grabbing the girl, he demands the opal in return for the girl's life. Not knowing what to do, Hakim hesitates, but Ororo intervenes, so Hakim gives her the opal. She points out to Barrett that with the opal he'll become immortal. having plenty of time to try and bring his master back to life, so she offers a trade, the opal, in return for all their lives as payment for all the service they provided to him and Sabanur today. Thirsting for power, he accepts, freeing Nari and putting on the crown with the opal on it, but to his surprise, he unexpectedly begins to turn to stone. Hakim says that he got the immortality he wanted, but not in the way he expected, and Nari asks Ororo how she knew that will happen, to which she replies that she didn't know, explaining that when Ozymandias gave her the opal, he warned her that its powers came at a great cost. Ahmed agrees that it was a risk worth taking, and then gathers the children to leave. The next day, Ororo and Hakim sit on the roof of their hideout. They comment on yesterday's events, with Hakim remarking that Ororo saved them more than once, and that she proven true what her mother used to tell her about being destined to great things. Behind them, Nari agrees, sitting beside her friends, and Hakim then inquires what will happen to the opal with Barrett out of the picture. Ororo concludes that she has a feeling that it will someday find its way back where it belongs, while in the temple, Ozymandias takes the opal and faces the mural of Ororo Munroe, that will one day be known as Storm.